Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. I got to tell you a couple stories that came to me recently. My buddy Dave Swanson is, and I've told you a lot about Dave. He used to be the bank president of North Country Savings Bank, and then the CEO of that bank system for years up here. And he's retired now, and he lives down the Finger Lakes. But Dave and I stay in close touch, sometimes daily. And Dave sent me two messages. One, that a great friend of his that was one of his board directors and is an avid fisherman, he's a veterinarian, told him that he had been fishing down near Skinny Atlas, so in one of the Finger Lakes for perch. And this was just this week. And he said what he uses, and this is kind of really interesting, and this can apply to any kind of fishing. But what he uses is, he doesn't use artificials. He uses a small hook and a sinker, just like I grew up doing, fishing for trout in the Genesee River. But at the end of it, he uses a strip of bacon fat that's about 2 inches long and a 1/4 inch wide, and he has this dangling on the hook. And apparently, this drives the perch wild. He is catching fish after fish. Well, he was fishing this week, and there was another guy next to him. Maybe he was fishing from shore, for all I know. There was a guy next to him that was using a little perch jig and a little twister tail, something that he had always used. He wasn't catching a fish. And he kept watching his compatriot there beside him that was catching fish after fish. And he's looking, he's thinking, what in the world is he using? So he asked him, he said, this is bacon fat. Here, he says, try it. Just try it. You're not having any luck. See what happens. So the other guy put a piece of bacon fat on a hook, and sure enough, not only did he catch a fish, but he started catching fish consistently. And it made me think of all the, quote, kind of artificials that we have today that sort of resemble live bait. And of course, that fat, that bacon fat, it sure smells good to us. We all love bacon, and I'll bet you it smells awful good to the fish as well. It smells like something they really do want to eat. And I think of Berkeley Gulp. We've all seen Berkeley Gulp in the stores. Some of us may have used it. But Berkeley Gulp is basically the same type of thing, that is a substance that breaks down in the water, that supposedly will drive the fish wild because they think it's something to eat. Maybe it reminds them of their day in the hatchery if they grew up that way. I don't know. And it can be very effective. And I remember one day that I was fishing on one of our reservoirs near the Salmon River down near Pulaski. And I was fishing for bass and trout. And we were having a tough day. And the guide that I had on this water says, you know what? If I put Berkeley Gulp on, I never, ever go without fish. And so I'd never used it. And I put and it was a little piece like you'd use for trout. I put it on. And I got to tell you, folks, all of a sudden, we started getting strike after strike after strike in the same area, the same spot. We were anchored, the same spot that we weren't getting anything on our proven lures. And it really struck home to me. Now, I haven't used it since. How crazy is that? But the bacon fat story, I'll bet you could go out for just about anything, from walleyes to bass to trout, and use a strip of bacon fat, and I'll bet you could catch fish. And it just shows you, that old thing, different strokes for different folks, different ways of fishing. There's an awful lot of things that would work. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.